Welcome to this online session. Today I'm presenting at the University of York with Festival of Ideas. My name is Gil Francis, and I am from the University of York, and I'm delighted to host today's session. It's presented in collaboration with City College, University of York, Europe Campus. We are delighted to welcome Dr. Anna B. Vivas, who's the director of the Neuroscience Research Center at City College, University of York, Europe Campus, and who's also the research director of the psychology department. Anna will be discussing how a fascinating discovering animals from the 1970s has been applied to children and adults with various cognitive impairments. And she'll also be talking about what innovative digital applications are currently being developed to positively impact people's everyday lives. Like you, I'm very excited for this talk. After Anna's talk, we will join her to answer some of your questions. So without any further ado, please allow me to hand over and welcome Anna to give her presentation.
Hi, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. Today, I'm going to talk, as Gil said, about what I consider a very exciting research line and also very exciting clinical applications of a technique that actually was first discovered in animals in the 1970s. As Gil already said in the introduction, interesting, it was only 2 decades later that they did the first studies using this technique in humans with amazing results. So they wanted to see whether they will obtain the same result that they found mostly with rats and pigeons in the laboratory, but also with humans. But it was only after the early 2000s that this line of research took off, and a lot of the research we have conducted together with a group in Spain, the University of Almeria, but now there are several labs in the world that are working with this phenomenon, which is, as I said, new and exciting. So today's talk, I want to focus on 3 specific areas of research and applications with this technique, which are discriminative learning, memory, so how we recognize face and locations, and one of the big health concerns in the world, which is medical adherence. So I will start with the first area that the differential outcome, this technique I'm going to explain in a second, has been applying, which is discriminative learning. Discriminative learning is something that is very important for our everyday life, and we are faced many times with the situation where we need to discriminate between different stimuli and to produce different responses. So, for instance, this is the case when you wake up in the morning and you look out of the window and you see that there is a cloudy day. So you know that when you leave home, you need to take your umbrella or your raincoat. On the other side, if you see a sunny day through your window, when you leave home, you would like to take your sunglasses or your hat. So this is a very good example of what is discriminative learning, which is the ability to give differential responses to different stimuli. And this ability to be able to discriminate between different stimuli and different situations and to give the correct response is particularly important for children. So children in their school settings, they face every day these kind of situations. For instance, when they need to learn a language, or how to write a language or spell a language, like this example I put here with the word D, and to understand that this has to be written with D and not with B. And this is an example of the discriminative learning that actually is quite difficult in general for children, but especially with children with learning disabilities such as dyslexia. And what we know for a long time is that if we reward correct responses to these discriminative stimuli, people perform better. And actually, parents have been using this always, regardless of knowing research or not. So we know that if we give reward, performance will be better. So for instance, if your children or our children, they eat their vegetable, their veggies, or they finish their homework, you might give them a candy, or you might give them something that they like, time with a PlayStation or playing games. So we know that these enhance their performance and they learn better to do the things that we want them to do. And this general effect of reward, the fact that you reward children when they learn to do what you want them to do, right, they do better, is related with motivation. So we motivate children to learn and to do better. What most people don't know is that the way you administer this reward make a huge difference for learning, right? So this is the technique I want to talk about today, which is basically a manipulation in the way you arrange and administer, give the reward after correct responses. And this is called differential outcome procedure. And it's a very simple technique, a very simple tool that I'm going to explain in a second, but it is very potent, right? It's simple, but it has amazing results, and this is what I want to communicate here today. So this is a very simple example, a typical example I will also show you in some of the research I want to discuss today, where children, for instance, they have to learn new associations, so they have to learn to associate a diamond with the scissors and a flower with a pencil. Is an abstract association that children need to learn in a new task. And so in both conditions, in the differential outcome and in the non-differential outcome, we give these children reward when they do it correctly, right? So when they choose the scissors, when they see the diamond, we give them a reward in this condition and as well in this condition, right? And this reward for both conditions can be either green tokens or red tokens, and these tokens can be, after they finish, can be exchanged with primary, what we call primary reinforcers, that is with actual reward. They can either get toys, as many toys as green tokens they have, or they can have food with the red tokens. So all this is the same for the two conditions. What is different for the differential outcome procedure is that there is a unique association between a given reward, let's say green tokens, right? And one of the associations to be learned. So every time there is a diamond and the children, they choose a scissors, they always get the green token. And every time there is a flower and the children choose a pencil, they always get the orange token. And this is what is called the differential outcomes, right? Because outcomes are differentiated with respect to the stimulus or the stimulus response association to be learned. In the non-differential outcome conditions, the difference is that although they get the same rewards, so they get green and orange tokens that are exchanged again for toys and food, these are presented randomly, okay? So when they choose, they see the diamond and they choose the scissors, sometimes they will get a green token and other times they will get an orange token. So there is not a unique association between the reward and what is to be learned, right? And a specific stimulus to be learned. So this is a very simple, hopefully I explain myself well, this is a very simple manipulation, but the amazing thing with this simple manipulation is that it has a very strong impact in learning, okay? So this simple manipulation makes learning to be faster. So children, they learn faster new associations, but also they learn better. So at the end, they have overall a better performance when you administer or you give differential outcomes. And this is one of these studies, or these early studies done in humans in the 90s. So it's very similar to the example that I already explained. So you have to new association. Children need to learn that, for instance, the letter gamma is associated with a star. And there is a delay, so there is a blank that they need to keep this information in memory between the presentation of the stimulus and what they have to choose. And then in the differential outcome condition, for the gamma, if they get it correct, they will always get the same reward, right? This is the differential outcome condition, as opposed to the non-differential, that some children will be in this condition, whether they will get the same rewards, but it will not be a unique reward for each association, right? So when they see the gamma and they get the star, they can get either the red token or the yellow token. So they did this study with children that were 4-year-old to 5.6-year-old. And as you can see here, the results were amazing. So what you can see here is how well they performed. So now the percentage of the times that they got it correct, that they choose the correct association, okay? And what you can see in the line with the open squares is when they did this task in the non-differential outcome condition, right? And in the black squares, you can see their performance when they did it under differential outcome conditions. I always get amazed when I do these experiments and this research, how effective is this technique. So you see that children that they did the task under the differential outcome, they learn much faster and they end up learning very well the task, while those ones that they got reward, but it was not differentiated, it was not unique to the stimulus, they did not actually learn. They found this task quite difficult and their performance remained at chance level. This discriminative learning is also particularly important for some children, particularly children with Down syndrome. Children with Down syndrome, they have difficulties to learn new skills, new associations. So we did a study with children with Down syndrome, and we have a very similar task. So they have to learn again new associations. In this case, it was to learn that the cross was associated with a circle and the letter gamma was associated with a star. So very similar what I explained before. And this was done again under differential outcome conditions, that they get reward that is a specific reward when they respond well to the cross, and a different reward when they respond well to the gamma letter. And they did as well under non-differential outcome conditions, right? They got reward, but in this condition, it was non-differentiated. So the reward was randomly presented. You can see again that the results were amazing. So you have again here the percentage of correct choices every time, the number of times that they got right. In this case, the circle with the cross, and in the case with the gamma, the star. And you can see that in the dash bars is the non-differential outcome condition, right? When they got reward, but it was randomly presented. Again, their performance is quite poor, it's a chance level. So it's telling again that for these children, it's quite difficult to learn these new associations. They found it very difficult. But you can see that amazingly, when they did the same task, the same children with differential outcome procedure, getting the rewards that they are arranged in a way so they are specific to unique to the stimulus they want to learn, they perform really well. They learn and they manage, some of them, to have very high performance. So we were amazed about these results. They have done a lot of studies that now with discriminative learning, they have shown that learning is faster and better, their overall higher accuracy, when the differential outcome procedure is used. And we have seen this in children, small children from 4-year-old to 9-year-old, in children that they are born prematurely. And so some of them, they have cognitive challenges, children with autism, that they have also different kind of cognitive challenges and learning challenges. Children and adults with Down syndrome, as the sample I gave you, but also we've seen that this technique works with adults when they have to learn very difficult tasks. So we did in Spain a study with mathematical symbols, difficult mathematical symbols. And so we saw that if in a group of adults, actually they were students, if we presented differential outcome procedures, they were much able to learn to discriminate between different kinds of symbols and equations. And other team in another lab, they done another study with adults that they had to learn a language, a new language. And again, they did much better. They were able to learn under differential outcome procedure. So these results are really promising, and they show that the differential outcome procedure is a very effective and potent tool to improve discriminative learning. But in the last year, we've seen that these techniques can be also very effective in improving memory, particularly in populations that they already have some cognitive impairments or some cognitive decline. And so I'm going to present some of the findings, the very exciting findings with memory. Memory, this is very important. These findings, again, are very important because, as happened with discriminative learning, which is a very important learning that we use in everyday life and that children use in the school settings, in everyday life settings, memory is as well a very important cognitive process that is affected by healthy aging. So probably, as you know, as we age and get older, some people, they experience a decline in some of the cognitive abilities. So it's very typical if you talk to older people that they will tell you that, I cannot remember as well as I used to remember. I tend to forget things. So memory is one of the cognitive abilities that are first and most affected by healthy aging. So people that they are, older adult without any pathology, but and also in some of the neurodegenerative disorders, such as dementia, that I'm going to talk a little bit later. But interestingly, not all types of memory are equally affected by aging and neuropathology. And so particularly the ability to encode new information and to hold this information over the time seem to be most affected by healthy aging, but also pathological aging. So we were interested to see if using differential outcome will be an effective approach to try to improve memory for these populations. And we in some of the studies, we focus in one of the very important memory, which is memory for faces, right? So holding information over the time becomes difficult with age, but even so, for faces are very complex stimuli, visual stimuli, and at the same time are very important for our everyday life, right? So it's very important that we're able to remember faces and recognize faces when we see this person for social interaction, for security reasons, and for almost everyday interaction, right? So we did a series of studies, and I'm presenting here some of them. So this is an example of another kind of task. These are computerized tasks, okay? Actually, when we do it with this population, sometimes we do it on tablets, sometimes on computers. So what you see here is like a representation of the computer screen. So each rectangle, it will be like one of the screens in the tablet, on the computers, that the people that they are doing this task, they see. So they first see a cross, then they see a blank Then they see a face, okay, for a very short time, only for a second. Then there is a delay, and this is important because, as I said, the difficulty that most people have is to keep information over a time in memory, so to remember later on and to be able to recognize it. So in the different studies, we have manipulated this. So obviously, the longer the delay, so the longer they need to keep this in memory, the more difficult and challenging is the task, especially for people with memory problems. And so after this delay, there are many phases, right? And they have to recognize, that's why it's called delay phase recognition, which is the phase that was previously presented, right? It's not as easy as it seems, right? It's a difficult task. And so again, people did this task under differential outcome conditions. So there was a unique reward, in this case was pleasant pictures of images, landscapes associated with each phase they need to remember and recognize later on. While in the non-differential outcome condition, they got the same reward, but this reward was randomly presented. It was not associated to a unique, it wasn't unique to each of the phases to be learned. And so we did this study with older healthy adults, and you can see the results on the top of the slide, and also with people with Alzheimer's disease. So Alzheimer's disease, probably as you know, is the most common type of dementia. It's a neurodegenerative disorder that is associated with the older age. And so people, they start forgetting things, and then other aspects of cognition as the diseases progress get affected. And so again, what you see here in the other adult is the correct response, so how many of the times they got it correct. And I want to point out again how amazing they are the results with very simple technique. So I have highlighted this, okay? You can see that the pink line is the performance of the older adults under the non-differential outcome condition. And here, the green line is the older adults doing the same task with the differential outcome procedure. And what I want to point out is you can see that when they are doing with differential outcome procedure, their performance is the same with the younger group of participants, right? So actually these people, when they are doing the task and the differential outcome conditions, they are not showing any decline in memory. We had also amazing results with people with Alzheimer's disease, okay? Not at the same level with the healthy participants, also they were very close in the short delay. But again, you can see here that in the differential outcome condition, they are doing much better. They are closer to the healthy adults, okay? And the non-differential, for correct responses in the long delay, again, they are almost at chance level. And this is the same with how fast they respond, okay? So they respond faster under the differential outcome as compared to the non-differential outcome. The last kind of research, then I will move a little bit more to applications that I want to show, which I think is very exciting as well, is we've done studies with visuospatial memory, as with face recognition, visuospatial abilities, that is to be able to remember locations, to find your way back, let's say from the supermarket to your house, to drive and follow directions, is again a fundamental skill in everyday activities that allows us to maintain independent living, right? With, as I said, people with Alzheimer's disease, that they have memory problems. One of the main problems that the family and caregivers have with these patients is that when they go out, they tend to get lost, okay? So this is a huge problem. And spatial memory is again particularly vulnerable to aging, is very much affected by the older age and pathological aging, and spatial disorientation is recognized as an early sign of Alzheimer's disease. So again, it was very important for us to be able to demonstrate that with this simple technique could be used to improve visuospatial memory, particularly in population that they have some impairments in visuospatial memory. So again, I'm just showing you so that you understand one of these tasks. Again, it's a computerized task, so it's the same thing. Is little box, in this case, it's a black box, is a presentation in the computer. So as you can see, what we present in a sequence, there are 4 different locations. And then again, that was a delay. So they need to keep these locations in memory, hold information over the time that, depending on the studies, could be a short 1, 2 seconds, or 15 seconds. And after this delay, 2 locations are presented. And again, they need to recognize, so that's why again is delay recognition, memory recognition, which location was presented before. In this case, is this one. And the task again was done under differential outcome conditions. So they got the reward. We use landscapes, and that was in the differential outcome condition, a unique landscape associated with each of the 4 locations that need to be learned. In the non-differential outcome condition, they got the same reward every time they got it correct, the landscapes, but they were randomly administered, right? That was not a unique association between a particular landscape and one of the locations. We did this study here in Thessaloniki, and so we had a group of healthy older adults. There was a group also of people with Alzheimer's disease, and there is a group also of people with mild cognitive impairment. So there are people that don't have dementia, but they are not completely healthy. So they start to show signs of impairment, of cognitive impairment, although they are functional on everyday basis. Again, you can see amazing results. So the red bars are performance, again, under differential outcome condition, and the gray bars, the non-differential. Again, performance is much better in the differential outcome conditions in both groups compared to the non-differential. We further look at Alzheimer's disease group, because as you can see, they are doing much better with the differential outcome condition, but it doesn't seem that they reach very high levels of performance. So what we saw when we look at the trials is that they need a little bit more of time, but towards the end of the task, they were actually reaching very high levels of performance only with the differential outcome condition. In the non-differential, the performance remained always, even at the end of the task, at the chance levels. So I think these are very exciting. As I said, research is showing that this technique can be very versatile, very easy to implement, and can have a positive effect on discriminative learning and memory as well. So one last thing I want to present is the application of this technique to adherence to treatment. A lack of adherence to treatment is one of the most important current public health concerns. Adherence to treatment is to comply with the prescription. So if you are taking medication, let's say for cholesterol, and you need to take a certain pill at a certain hour of the day, is to take this pill in the way it has been prescribed, right? What research shows is that about 50% of the patients with chronic diseases fail to comply with the plan prescriptions, and this is a huge problem, because lack of or low adherence has a very adverse effects on symptoms, hospitalization, mortality, and has a very high cost to the health system. So it would be quite important to have ways to improve and enhance medical adherence. Also, what research has shown is that the risk of low adherence or lack of adherence is much bigger in people that are older. Obviously, because as we have discussed, these people have problems. So I've got first decline with age is memory. So one aspect of being able to adhere to the treatment is remembering that you need to take this pill at a certain moment of their life. So if they have poor memory, it's not a surprise that they cannot comply with the instructions that they have been given by the doctor. So the differential outcome procedure has been used as well with medical adherence in the laboratory. Okay, so I'm going to show you just one example of one task that has been done in a research context, and then I want to finish this talk talking a little bit outside the lab, outside the lab context, how this has been applied, and we have developed a digital application to based on the differential outcome procedure to enhance adherence to treatment. So there have been at least 3 studies that they have looked at a differential outcome procedure in a task that can be related to medical adherence. So in one of these tasks that was published in that was published in 2019, what they did is a task very similar to the one I show you, that have the different screens. So again, this was done in a tablet. It's a computerized task. So there were 2 hypothetical, okay, this is a hypothetical scenario, so it's not a real life application of 2 different pills, right? The yellow pill and a pink pill. And so they need to learn, right, that the yellow pill need to be taken in the morning and that the pink pill need to be taken at night, right? And so in one of the studies, they did this task and the differential outcome procedure. So they were getting reinforces that they were not exactly tokens, but different pictures, okay? So they were pictures. In this case, it's a picture of a glove, a pair of gloves, and this is a picture of a key ring, right? And this at the end could be a change for actual real rewards, so real gloves and real key rings. So they were getting the rewards. So in the differential outcome procedure, as I have explained in the previous examples, the gloves, the reward that they were the gloves, were always presented after correct responses to the yellow pill, right? So every time they saw the yellow pill and they said, they learned that this has to be, they selected the picture in the morning in the bed, okay? They got the gloves. In the differential outcome procedure condition, every time they saw the pink pill and they selected the picture of night, of the moon, they got the key ring, right? In the non-differential outcome procedure, they were getting the same rewards, okay? But as I said before, they were randomly presented, okay? So when they saw the yellow pill and they selected the morning picture, sometimes they could get the gloves, sometimes they could get the key ring, okay? And the same with the pink pill. If they selected the right picture, the night picture, sometimes they could get the gloves and sometimes they could get the key ring, right? And you have here some results with a group of older adults. There have been studies also with patients with Alzheimer's disease and patients with dementia. And so what you see again is that you can see here, what I'm showing you is that, again, they were much better with the differential outcome, which are the black bars, as compared to the non-differential, which are the empty bars. But what I want to say here is that these participants were tested with other reward to see if they could still remember the associations 1 hour after they completed the task and 1 week after. And still 1 week after, when the people that have been trained initially in the differential outcome procedure, they remember much better the associations that people that have been trained under non-differential procedure. And this is very important because it shows that not only it works in making memory better while training with the differential outcome procedure, but this training is long-lasting. So these memories, when these memories are acquired through differential outcome procedure training, they are retained for a longer time, right? And this is a very important finding for everyday applications. Now, very quickly, because I don't want to go very much into detail, you might be wondering, okay, that's fantastic, but why? Why such a simple manipulation might have such an impact on learning and memory. And so there have been different theories, and there have been studies with neuroimaging. And what it seems to happen is that when you use this unique outcome associated with the specific stimulus or that you want to remember or learn, you create an expectation. It's what's called a reward expectation, because you know that this is going to appear, right? And this expectation that you can see here is like, you can think ahead. I know that when the yellow pill is presented, this is going to be presented. This is not done in a conscious way, but your cognitive system, your mind does this. And this additional information that your cognitive system can use, your brain can use to try to decide which is the correct response, right? So this is what seems to happen and why this simple manipulation works better. And so what has been proposed is that this will be like a compensatory mechanism for learning, particularly under challenging tasks or scenarios. So this procedure, as I said, particularly works when the task is very difficult, what you need to learn is very difficult, or in populations that they already have some impairments. And so what I want to finish in the last 5 minutes that I have left is to tell you about a very exciting application. So together with the team in Spain, we have developed an application, a mobile application, which is called MedMori app. At the moment, it's only in Spanish. So sorry, but the pictures are in Spanish. So if some of you can understand Spanish, you can probably read it. So this is how the app looks. So it's based on the differential outcome procedure, so that they can be used in real life to enhance memory for medication and medical adherence. So this is how it looks. It has the different times of the day: morning, lunchtime, dinner time, just got up, in the morning, in the afternoon, before going to sleep. And so you can choose, the participants are administering themselves and doing this by themselves. So you can choose, that is when I have to wake up in the morning. And then after they have entered this, I'm going to show you that this at the moment is running, is almost about to finish. It's a clinical trial that is being run in Spain with people, older adult citizens. Okay, so they're coming there and they are using, and there are people that they have multiple diseases, right? They have cholesterol, they have hypertension. Unfortunately, now a lot of people, they have different kind of health problems, and so they have to have different kind of medication. So what they do, that they enter at the beginning of the app what are the different medication pills that they need to take. So then they can choose in the morning, and they can choose whether the pills that they have entered, which one they need to take, whether the yellow pill, the pink pill, or none of them, right? And when they choose correctly, they get a reward. Again, at the beginning, they decide which reward. That is a selection, because it's very important that people are rewarded with things that they are personalized, so things that you like we know with our children, what our children like. So accordingly, you reward them with the things that they like, so they can choose, and they do correctly, they get the rewards. And then in a differential outcome fashion. So this is how it's arranged. And at the moment, we've been rolling this randomized control trial with 390 older adults. We haven't analyzed all the data, but it's looking very promising. And this week, actually, we're making this application open, or hopefully by next week, because there have been some issues with the application, so that it can be used by researchers, but also by people out there. And the plan is also to run a clinical trial here in Greece and to translate this. So hopefully it will have other applications. And we've been working also as well with Denmark and Sweden, creating a game, again for older adults, people with MCI, with mild cognitive impairment and dementia. And it's a game to enhance visuospatial memory using the differential outcome procedure that is based on a garden. So again, it's very exciting potential digital application that could be used to enhance memory in these populations. And this is all I have to say for today. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Anna. This was really fascinating and so interesting. So now we'll move on to looking at the questions that we received during the talk. We do have one question there. So let's see what this person is asking. They ask, you mentioned earlier that the DOP, which is a differential outcome procedure, helps adults learn languages with symbols or characters. Have you also observed that it helps with learning languages that are alphabet-based? Apologies if you've already covered this. Yeah.
No, thank you very much. This is a nice question. Actually, it hasn't been done in adults with alphabet language. And here the factor, as I said before, is that the task need to be very challenging. So actually, people that they are not in countries where they use this symbolic language, is quite difficult to learn languages that use a symbolic approach and it's not an alphabet. For an adult, learning a new language with alphabetic characters maybe is not as challenging, but it can be. I mean, it depends also the person, but it has been done with these more challenging kind of languages because I said for adults, it's particularly important that the task is very challenging, is very difficult for this procedure to have an extra added value, right? I mean, because otherwise it won't make a huge difference whether you use differential DOP or non-DOP training.
That's good to know, Anna. So in your brainstorming and looking at the practical applications, have you thought of like general classroom context and possible, and do you all have any ideas for some of the practical applications to the classroom?
Yes, very good question. Yeah, actually, I mean, I think one of the beauty of this differential outcome procedure, which I think I emphasized several times in my talk, is that it's very easy to implement. I mean, sometimes it's hard to believe that something so easy can have such a big impact, right? So, I mean, we haven't done applications for school settings, but I think it could be very easily applied. I mean, we've done studies with adults with mathematical symbols. We know that maths are very difficult. A lot of people find it very challenging. There is this math anxiety. So you could make simple applications, okay, that could be used in school settings to try to enhance learning of mathematical symbols and equations. It could be used also with young children to learn language, right? A second language, or for particularly, you know, difficult stimuli that they need to learn and differentiate, but possibly maths can be a good option because it's usually quite challenging for children.
I think teachers would really welcome something like that. Let's look at another question from the chat. So somebody's asking, the app looks very interesting. Are the rewards digitally supplied by the app, or do participants get something they can redeem offline in the real world?
They can not redeem anything in the real world. And I think this is something which is very nice about the DOP, okay, that it works even if you don't give this kind of primary reinforcers, okay? Obviously with children, we always give them primary reinforcers because it's good for them to know that at the end they get something. But with adult populations, older adult and patients, using just this kind of, you know, pleasant, even social reward, you can, you know, sometimes we say, you know, well done, this is fantastic. So even using different kind of social reward, or it could be a smile, it could be interaction, it could be a picture, seems to work as well, right? Maybe you give something additional, it can work, but I mean, you don't need to give actual, you know, primary, what we call primary reinforcers, actual objects or goods to adults for this to work, so, which I think is also fantastic if you are thinking about, you know, applications in real life, right?
Yes, fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you for that answer, Anna. The questions are definitely coming in. Another attendee says, thank you for your talk. I teach a topic about memory to my A-level students. And the common criticism of a lot of memory studies is that it focuses on the artificiality of the stimuli. How do you make sure results are generalizable to real-world situations? And also, how do you handle ethics when using elderly and memory-challenged participants?
Thank you very much. Yes, I mean, again, a great question. Actually, I just presented a couple of, here and there some examples, but we have done a lot of studies with more ecological stimuli, and this is very important, right? Because you want to make sure that this is transferable to everyday life, as you said. So we have done also studies in children, other populations using everyday objects, using more complex landscapes, as using the one with the medical adherence with the pills. They are very much real stimuli. So they are things that pills that people can actually use. So a lot of the studies that they have been done, they have used much more ecological stimuli than the one that have presented. But indeed, this is a very important aspect that researchers need to take in consideration when doing this kind of experimental work, that you have a stimuli that they are closer to real life. I think that the second aspect was about ethics.
Yes. Ethics with elderly and memory challenged participants.
Yes, well, I mean, as you know, nowadays, when you want to do any kind of research, you have to go through ethics approval. Yes. So we've got ethics approval for all these studies. I think that in this case, particularly because this kind of procedure has a positive impact on their learning and performance, having people participating in these studies has benefits for them, okay? So I think it's one of the cases in research that there is more benefit than any risk associated with doing this, because actually this is not a bad experience for them. They get reward, they exposed to pleasant, because there is no punishment, right? They get only rewarded for the correct response. If they don't do well, there is not any kind of punishment, right? So in all these studies, there is a positive experience with doing the task. They learn, they're doing better, they get also positive outcomes from participating. So I think this is one of the few examples, or there are many others, okay, which there are no really ethical issues in having people that they have cognitive impairments or challenges.
Yes. So in order to even probably add a bit of clarity, could you probably give insight on who's giving the informed consent in settings like that? Is it the family member, or is it the participant, depending on their level?
In all these studies, okay, when we're talking about children, okay, no matter if they have any kind of learning disability or challenge or diversity, neurodiversity, or they are, typically developing children, you always get consent from the parents or the guardians or caregiver, right? When they are a minor, under 18. When they are adults, that they are with cognitive impairments, in all these studies, we've recruited participants that they were able to understand. So we never had severe cognitive impairment, so they are able to understand, and this is one of the prerequisites to be able to participate in the study, okay? Yes. So in those cases, and in the legal framework of the countries where we have done these studies, the consent was given by the participants, right?
Great. Right.
Because you always adjust also the information,
yes,
and the consent procedure to, to the population that you are testing. So if they have some challenges, you make it easy, visual, easy to understand, and so on.
Okay. I found it really, really fascinating, the fact that you've trialed this with children with autism, children with Down syndrome, as well as adults with cognitive impairments. I wondered if there was, if you've considered the potential of working with children with ADHD, who we know who have attention challenges and so on, and do you have any possible ideas about how they might probably respond, because we know that their impairments are more like attention deficit.
Yes,
focus.
Yes. I mean, as far as I know, there is no study with ADHD. I mean, yes. We have looked, there have been with many populations, and the amazing is that I cannot remember a single study where it didn't work. right? Also with alcohol-induced dementia, with other kind of populations, with people diagnosed with schizophrenia, with psychotic traits and so on. So there have been with a lot of population, and it seems to work every time. With ADHD, I don't remember any study. I cannot see why it wouldn't work. I mean, actually now we are in a project, we are trying to see how we can use because so far it has been using discriminative learning, memory, but you make a very good point about attention, to see how this can be in a way adjusted to training where you can enhance attention as well. So it's something that we are working on at the moment. Yeah.
Great, definitely new ideas to new directions to look at. Looking at the chat, we do have another question. Do you know if the DOP, the differential outcome procedure, is being taught in teacher training anywhere for applications in classrooms?
I don't know. I mean, as I said in my presentation, it's actually relatively new. If you think about,
Yeah,
in the research framework, right? Because as I said, it was discovered in animals in the United States, Trappel and Overmeyer in the 70s, and this was only, late 80s at beginning of 90s, a couple of studies with human, but it's really only since 2000 that, there have been research done with a lot of population, different kind of tasks, different kinds, and it's only in the last maybe 1 or 2 years that we, together with the team in Spain and with the team in Denmark and Sweden, we start to do some applications. So, it's still quite new, so it would be great if, if this is taking, and I think this kind of talks, they help towards, engaging people and raising awareness about this. So yeah, I think it would be great in the future to collaborate with educators, to think, as you said, also what could be applications in educational settings. I think the potential is there and it's amazing, right? Because so far, regardless of the theoretical underpinnings and understanding why it works, the truth is that it works.
Yes.
It works every time. It works with all kinds of populations. As you see, the difference is amazing, how much they learn, how faster they learn. So it is effective, right? As I said,
Yes.
there have been a meta-analysis, which is a study that summarizes all the research done in a field. There is only one in this field. And they saw that the effects of a large size, these are very important also in research, that what you are getting is not a little effect, it's a big effect, and it is very robust, which means that this is quite important if you want to transfer this to everyday life, because sometimes in research you find something, but it's difficult to find it. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. It's under very specific conditions, as someone said, a specific stimuli in the lab. This is not the case of the DOP, okay? It seems to be a robust, large effect. So I think that the potential to transfer this and make applications to clinical practice, educational practice, is amazing, right? So it's a matter in the following years, young researchers as well, getting excited about this and, moving this forward. Yeah.
Indeed. That's amazing, Anna. And the last question here, I think, is a wonderful, it's a very good question to end on. The attendee wanted to express their thanks for your presentation and to ask, what do you hope is the next step in this research?
That's a very good question.
Very good question.
I think that the next step is what I said. I think I would like to, and this is what we're working a lot more, is trying to see how now we've done so much research, see that it works in many different populations. So it is how we can think of ways of developing applications, and making a real change in the life of people. So thinking of ways of transferring this research to applications, to games, to ways of, see if this works in real life settings. So I think that this is the next step, yeah, and what I'm very keen to work on from now on.
Okay, thank you so much, Anna. Really, this was such a fascinating talk. And I want to say a special thank you to the audience for the great questions that were posed. And thank you so much, Anna, for sharing this fascinating and insightful research that you've undertaken.
Thank you so much, Gil. It was a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed.
Yes.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you again, everyone, and have a good
Thank
afternoon.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.